U-turns are an essential motorcycling skill for your Mod 1 and beyond. Here are my tips on how to nail them and how to pull it back if it feels like you're going to lose your balance. There's 3 controls that you need to use for this. It's going to be the throttle, the clutch and the rear brake. All 3 are essential and you're going to use them all simultaneously. I have a habit of covering my front brake lever with my hand, but don't do that. If you touch your front brake at all during the U-turns, it's 90% likely that you're going to end up dropping the bike, so keep your hand off of the brake lever. Step 1 is going to be to set your revs. You want to set your revs a little bit higher in the rev range than you might have initially thought. I usually go for about a third of the way up the rev range. Don't worry about the bike going faster than you want it to because you're going to control the speed with the clutch and the rear brake. Set your revs and forget them, hold the same RPM all the way throughout the manoeuvre and don't try and control your speed using the throttle. You want the revs to be quite high so that you don't stall. If you stall with your bars at almost full lock, then it's a bit like grabbing the front brake and you're probably going to fall. Step 2 is the clutch. You want to hold it on the biting point. When you want to slow down, pull the clutch in slightly, and if you want to speed up, then you can let it out slightly. The adjustment you're going to make on the clutch lever is literally a matter of millimeters, as if you pull it in too far or you let the clutch all the way out, it's going to result in you losing power altogether. As you're turning it in the U-turn, you'll likely have to let the clutch out slightly, as the bike will naturally want to slow down, so give it a little bit more power to keep the speed up. If the bike feels like it's going to fall over, usually letting the clutch out slightly will give the bike a little bit more speed and a little bit more stability, causing it to stand up straight again. Finally, you're looking at the rear brake. Again, you want to keep the rear brake nice and steady, don't stamp on it suddenly if you panic and you want to slow down. You want the rear brake to drag ever so slightly, and this will add a lot of stability to the U-turn. If you increase the pressure on the rear brake, you'll usually have to let the clutch out slightly to keep the bike's speed up. A combination of both of these will keep the bike nice and stable. My general tips for doing U-turns are to avoid turning the handlebars full lock. You can do full lock U-turns, but you won't need to for your Mod 1, and I find that when I turn the handlebars full lock, I usually put my foot down because the bike is a little bit unstable that way. So turn the handlebars most of the way, but don't turn them full lock. Also, look where you want to go. This is so important and it's key to doing good U-turns. Turn your entire head and pick something with your eyes to focus on. If you turn your head but your eyes are flicking all over the place, it's going to make your U-turn very unstable. So pick something physically on the floor like a line or a piece of grass or something and focus on that until you've completed the manoeuvre. And again, don't touch your front brake at all during the manoeuvre. If you've looked the wrong way and the bike is running wide or something, just stand it up straight and stop then. But if you brake with the bars turned, you probably are going to fall, and that's obviously going to be quite gutting. Instead of braking, if you feel like you're going to fall or you feel like you need to put your foot down, just let the clutch out slightly. It will give the bike a little bit more power, and like I said earlier, it will stand the bike up straight again and make it more stable. My final piece of advice is to practice doing circles like this. I find that doing large circles clockwise and anti-clockwise is a really nice way to practice using all 3 of the controls together, and you don't have to worry about actually doing the U-turn in a set amount of space. If you want to get really competitive with yourself, you can measure out a circle and mark it with chalk, and then try and be able to do tighter and tighter circles every time you practice. So whether you're a new rider looking to pass your Mod 1 or you're a more experienced rider, the key to getting good U-turns is just to practice and to practice regularly. Your skills will fade quite quickly if you don't keep them up to date, so it's good to go out there and practice every time you see an empty piece of tarmac. Safe riding, and I'll see you guys in the next one.